Hello sup, my beautiful baby sweetheart. How are you today? Don't answer. I can't hear you, remember? Now, I have a question for you. Can Jesus microwave a burrito so hot that he himself cannot eat it? JK. My question is, have you ever heard of a band called Radiohead? Don't answer again. It was a rhetorical question. Of course you have already heard of them, why the hell else would you click in this video? And I still can't hear you. So, in today's episode of There's Always a First Time, I will be listening to Kid A for the first time. Before doing so, I'm just gonna share with you my current knowledge of Radiohead's music. I of course know Creep. And I know various songs across various albums by them. But their only album I've listened on its entirety was The Bends, and I really liked it. Now I've decided to take a peek at Kid A because I know it was a complete departure of the band's original style at the time. And I like when bands do something that is different of what we're used to listen from them. And also, this album is the second best album of all time according to Rate Your Music. The number one is also by Radiohead, which only confirms to me that this site is basically a huge Radiohead fandom. But still, why not give it a shot? Right now, I only know 2 songs from this album, Everything in Its Right Place and 𝕸𝖵𝖗𝖘𝖐. Now I shall listen to this album and see what's the goods that have been delivered here. Be right back. Wow, okay. After hearing that album, I can really tell why this album was so groundbreaking when it was released. It's beyond doubt something that is completely different of what the band was known for at the time, and even though OK Computer in itself was already pretty experimental, Kid A took this to another level. I got to say that even though I am not a guy that likes when music is too abstract, this album surely was an interesting listen. I don't think I've ever heard an album that could be so poignant, unique and atmospheric, all at the same time. And this might be something weird to say, but this album almost feels inhuman, practically like alien music. It doesn't seem like a human would be able to record that, but well, I guess the Radiohead crew is human, even though Thom Yorke does look like Yoda. But even in the more quote-unquote normal side of the album it stands out. The bass line in the National Anthem, the entire song Optimistic, the piano line of In Limbo, the drumbeat of 𝕸𝖵𝖗𝖘𝖒. All these elements aren't too out there, but they still help a lot with the experience of listening to the album. And one thing that I certainly appreciate is the creative risk the band took. OK Computer was massive, and the fact that they completely turned their music upside down for the follow-up is something that is really risky, but it worked. Worked amazingly. If this didn't happen, we may not have all those levels of experimentation that happen in modern music, even though Radiohead wasn't the first band to do so. It was certainly the band that made it something other artists would be looking after. In which of the previous albums you'd be able to hear the eccentric The National Anthem or the Misty 𝕸𝖵𝖗𝖗𝖏𝑔𝑗? Maybe OK Computer, but that album is still mostly a rock album. If these tracks were featured there, they wouldn't have such a distinct feel as in Kid A. We can't deny OK Computer was indeed a bridge between the style Radiohead was known for to the style they would follow in the future. Now I'll share some of my favorite tracks of the album. In the section, well, favorite tracks. Duh. Track 1. Everything in Its Right Place. Ahem. Yesterday I woke up. Now for real. The album opener to me isn't a song that has a lot going on in terms of variety of instruments, but the way this cut was coordinated makes it, despite its simplicity, be incredibly cozy in your eardrums, almost like you're asleep, in a deep state of relaxation and you're in the middle of a really strange dream set in like, the space. And when the song gets louder is when like things are really happening in the dream. It's a wild journey, both in this pseudo-dream and in the song itself. Track 3. The National Anthem. Boy, I sure do love me some good old bassline. And this song's got a great one, but that's just the tip of the iceberg in this track. If we put like this album in sort of a storyline set in space, this track would probably be the scene where the protagonist loses his mind on like a drug or something similar, because that track is the definition of chaos. It has a nice trumpet that soon is covered by these multiple layers of instruments that, despite being really in your face, they're still arranged in a way that doesn't make them annoying. Instead, it's very much the opposite. It's fascinating. Track 6. Optimistic. As I said before, this is one of the more normal tracks in the album, at least in my view. The composition is still very unorthodox, just like most of the stuff in this album, but the structure of this song is something that I feel like the average listener is more used to listen. And, to be honest, it kinda surprised me to see that this is one of the least remembered tracks of this album. This track is just perfect, to be honest. It does gets a little chaotic near the end, just like in National Anthem, but it's a bit tamer. And one more thing, the drums here are also top-notch. In an honest manner, I feel like this song is now among my favorite tracks by Radiohead. Therefore, it's only logical that I give this track my seal of favorite track of the album. Track 7. In Limbo. For this track, a thing that really caught my ears was the jazzy piano, that even though it's very slick and played in a 4/4 beat, it's played in a rhythm that's certainly unconventional. It might be a little uncomfortable in the ear at first, but as soon as you get used to it you'll start to love it. And in the second half of the song, the instruments start to get more intense and some synthesized sounds start to appear, and it goes like this until the song's ending. That's very loud and turbulent, but it's very fitting with not only the song's style but of the entire album. I know how some people label this album as perfect and one of the greatest albums of all time, which I understand. But I do not agree. Because to be one of the best albums of all time to my taste, let's emphasize that, to my taste, it must have no least favorite tracks. And here, we have one. Track 2. Kid A. Listen, I do get how beloved this entire album is, but what the hell is this title track? It begins decently enough with a delicate jazzy melody and some synthesized voices that are okay. Later the drum beats enter and the voice gets louder, which is when I start to feel like, wow, I don't think I'm liking that. And yeah, I really didn't like it. In the second half of this song we have a calm synth happening that is better, but it doesn't really save the song. It's not one of the worst songs I've ever heard, but it's certainly the least likable track of the album to me. When I was halfway through it, I started think, damn it, maybe I won't like this album as much as I thought I would like. YouTube will crucify me. In a general view, I really liked the experience of listening to this record. It's certainly not my area and the chances of me listening to it again are kinda low. This is mostly because it's really hard for me to get into abstract music that is not Björk. But I do see myself returning to some tracks of this record every now and then, especially the positive highlights. So, for Kid A, the score I'm giving to it is an 8.4. It's not my favorite album of all time, but it's certainly a good one. And based on what I heard about it, this album tends to grow on people, so hopefully as time passes by I will like this album more and more. More music to enjoy is always welcome. So that's it for today's video. What did you guys think about it? What is your view on Kid A? Please share it in the comments and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. My name is Marshall and see you next time.